left and the sun went down. Okay? We were there till quite late dealing with what we call disruptors. We knew they're in there. They come out every time there's a large event and they wreak havoc. And had we hurt somebody, had we done whatever we were going to do, the media would have had a field day with it and said that we did this to the Million Woman March. So it's a political tightrope walk that we have to work. We had so much law enforcement there, a lot of it was hidden. The media said there wasn't one cop in sight. Trust me, there was hundreds of us there.
Right.
They just didn't see us. Okay? And some of us were in plain clothes working the crowd. Our goal was to arrest the disruptors once the sun went down and they started doing what they do. And what they do is they break, they shatter, they try to set things on fire. That's what they do, okay? So right now, when you see a lot of these protests, pay attention. I mean, pay attention to what you're seeing, okay? I want you to notice where the debris is coming from. A lot of it's coming from behind the crowd. This is where these disruptors, it's not the whole crowd. They like to put the good people who are peacefully protesting in between us and them. And when we respond to the people that are throwing things at us, as well we should. You throw a Mazel Tov cocktail that's burning at cops, that requires or actually warrants the use of deadly force. The fact that they haven't done that yet is amazing. That is an incredible restraint, okay? When you're taking bricks, I've taken a full glass bottle to the head. I'm here to tell you, it hurts. It could kill you.
Yeah.
Okay? So the fact that our law enforcement officers are standing these lines right now and taking this kind of abuse without shooting or using lethal force is an amazing, amazing testament to how good our law enforcement is in this country. Because that would not exist in a communist country.
Could be the problem.
Well, it could be, but right now,
Could also be a problem.
right now, it's better to that's going to be a tough call. That's going to be a tough call.
That's what's going on in Portland. That's why Portland's been out of control for 52 days.
Yeah, well, we can get into Chaz and all that stuff. It's a really interesting thing. Chaz
But
had
we
more
don't have
shootings.
time.
Chaz had more shootings in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. We are a little bit behind schedule because we had the microphone mishap in the beginning.
Oh.
So let me take a feel for the room. How are you all feeling? Do you feel like you need a break, or do you want to keep going? We still have the societal reform. Keep going, and then we'll take the break and go to Q&A. We'll shorten the Q&A a little bit. We'll narrow that.
No, we would no. Expand the Q&A.
Okay, staying late. I'll stay late. You're all good staying late? Okay, no break.
You need it. Because I haven't gotten a clear answer about the George Floyd thing. I'm hearing some different responses, about that. And
Yeah.
sorry,
What are we on now? What question?
don't mean to disrespect.
Can I go get more coffee?
No.
Someone get it for him.
Sorry, no breaks.
We'll have someone get it for you. And
All right.
let's just get through the societal reform part, okay? So we can conclude the panel, and then we'll take the break and introduce Lucy as well.
We don't need a break.
Some people need to go to the back.
Okay, so we're gonna keep going. Okay, so let's talk about societal reform. Thank you all for your comments on the law enforcement reform. But let's talk about society. Because I learned a lot of things when I was younger. The biggest one was probably consequences for your actions. And I think that's something that's been kind of thrown out the door. So it kind of ties back to our first bullet point, which is education, and also school choice being a part of that. Can you guys, who would like to start off on that? Okay, Ms. Gilliam.
Okay, just one comment about the last section we had. I only take a knee for God, nobody else. Okay? When I grew up in the 50s and 60s and 40s, blacks were very educated. In the 1960s, 85 to 90% of our households were God-centered moms and dads. Okay? We had aunts, uncles, Medeas, cousins, everybody working in that community.
It's bougie.
Okay? You fast forward 50 years, and you look at it now, you have 75 to 80% of households run by single moms. It has been a complete role reversal in a period of time. You got running while you have the breakdown of the community, because you had to break down the family. Now, later on, we can talk about that, but that was done to black people on purpose. That didn't just happen. Okay, happenstance. The Democratic Party, that's why I cannot stand that party, decimated our black families on purpose to try to get our vote. Now the reason why, one reason we wanted to talk about is school choice, because we are very educated. I know a lot of you guys probably saw that the Hidden Figures movie that, you know, for NASA. Really, we had black women there, but we're human computers. We had a black woman that sent a man to space with a chalkboard and a piece of chalk. Okay, no computer, no calculator. Okay, you fast forward here in LA. 75% of black boys in California don't meet the state reading and writing standards. 50% of black boys in California don't meet state English standards. I use this a lot because we are the ones that are hurting the most with these percentages. 80% of black boys fail to meet state reading standards by the 4th grade. A large percent of these kids will end up on welfare, homeless, or in jail or the graveyard. 6% of juvenile delinquents and 80% of adults inmates are illiterate. 48% of black boys in California do not finish high school. That's why if you can't read and finish high school, you can't take advantage of any of these opportunities. California black students are twice as likely as white students to be identified for learning disabilities and most likely to be identified as special education. California ranks 46 of 48 out of 50 states in educational standards. That's why we need school choice. And Doug and Janet Hauser have a table there we talked about before. Okay? The Union School Board Administration have failed our children. If you were doing your jobs, we would not be having this discussion. So I don't want to hear from anybody from the schools. 50 years ago, parents, you relinquished your responsibility to the government. It's your job to raise your children. It's not the government's responsibility.
And it's not a police
You need to
officer's
get out
job.
of your houses, out of your silos, go back up these schools and start taking these schools back over. Every day during the week, there should, if you have a school of 3,000, there should be 700 to 800 parents every day at that school helping out everywhere in that school to be part of the school. You relinquish your responsibility and left to police. It's not police responsibility to take care of your child. It's your responsibility. Okay? Now, so Hosanna 4:6, what I said before, that people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Martin Luther King quoted, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensely and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is a goal of true education." And what we're trying to do with this initiative, come to 2022, they'll be collecting signatures. What it will do, you don't have to do any extra. It's just going to take money out of the hands at the school districts where they have it right now. And what it will do is just change in pots. So they spend about $17,000 a year right now for each child, and they're not being educated. A portion of that, around $12,000 now, would go to educational savings account for kids. So during that period of time, you can go to any charter school you want, parochial school, independent school you want, take that money. Now, we did a presentation back in January, what happened. That school there at Crenshaw was $6,000 a year. Put another two, maybe $8,000. Now the child can save $4,000 a year for 12 years. And in that 12 years, now they got almost $50,000 to go to any college they want or any training school they want. That's what school choice will do for you. And check with Janice and Doug Hauser for more information about that.
Okay, and Keith, I know you were a school campus aide, so tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Yeah, I am. At least, I don't know how much longer, but once this goes out. Hey, don't edit it either. Well, look, don't edit it. Don't even think about editing it, is what I'm going to say. What I have to say about this is very interesting because I'm getting older over the years, and I got nothing to lose. I mean, the Lord has told me what to say, and I need to say it publicly. So, you know, for those who have ears to hear. And it's very important that people understand that going back to education, I'm going to quote Lincoln here. I like Lincoln when he said, "Let us readopt the practices and policies that harmonize with the Declaration of Independence, and we will save the country." He had a very heavy task on his hands. Lincoln brought the country back together. There were two countries, two Americas, the Confederacy versus the Union. I believe that same idea is prevalent today.
We got that issue
We have
now.
the Confederacy versus the Union. And Trump is the only one holding it together. If he's taken out of the way, we're gone. So we got to keep him there for another 4 years at least. And then having said that, what we need to also remember is that there is a insidious evil that is encroaching on our children, which actually already is there. But you need to understand that it's being manifest. God is trying to give us an opportunity here. and we need to take advantage of it. The LGBTQ, whatever Q means.
Please.
That agenda.
Questioning.
Yeah, okay.
And asking what the letter P means.
That is the very most evil agenda. And I'm gonna have to say this, I'm gonna say this. In the Republican Party, when we first, I remember years ago during the Romney campaign, the Republican Party said we need to abandon the social issues. We need to forget about it. We've lost that battle. No, I refuse to agree with that. And I just wanted to say that publicly. And I said it on purpose because, I know.
Thank you.
And I'm not mentioning names. I don't need to mention names. I'm just saying that it is affecting all of the society, both parties. So we need to be aware of that.
And they're targeting black communities like nobody's business.
Aware of that, and it's hurting the black community. It's hurting just like illegal immigration. So again, and then one more thing is the 1619 project. Listen to that. Okay, to change undermine our founding. America wasn't founded in 1619. America was founded in 1776. That's why we celebrate.
Yes.
So don't let them bring you back
Roll
to that.
Tide.
Don't let them change that on you, okay? So,
Okay.
there you go.
And the law enforcement officers, please tell us, I'm sure you had some school run-ins and different things, so you're.
First of all, we're past old, no longer law enforcement officers. We're retired. They make us sign forms on the way out. It says, you are retired.
Okay, sure.
Oh, absolutely. Keith asked me if I believe in the Second Amendment.
No, I know you do.
Being a juvenile intervention supervisor for LA County Sheriff's Department, I work with families that were in crisis. In fact, that's what my book is about. Love Loudly is about helping families that are in crisis in this particular section here when we talk about societal reform. Nobody's teaching children citizenship or constitutionality anymore. Nobody's teaching ethics and morality.
Yeah.
Nobody is teaching critical thinking. All they're doing is they're telling kids how to think. I'm telling them what to think, not how to think. Okay? What to think, not how to think. I have actually supervised my team helping seniors learn how to read. Okay? Stats that I threw out there when I lectured in this for the Sheriff's Department was this. I know that I have 2.4 million minors in the LA County. 2.4 million minors. That means individuals under the age of 18. Okay? Given the school districts that reported or would actually talk to me, I know that approximately 50% of my 9th grade class will never graduate. That means I'm going to have 1.2 million kids without a high school diploma in LA County. When you start looking at what our numbers actually are, we need to wake up. We need to wake up, okay? When we talk about the utter destruction of the American family and what's happening, the parents just don't know what to do. They are absolutely 100% beside themselves. They do not know what to do. Teachers do not have any authority in the classroom anymore. I've been a part of actually helping schools deal with how to better serve our students. Okay, and one of the things is this: you can't keep looking at kids as thugs. We got to start changing that paradigm. Yeah. Okay, because if that's the way we look at them, that's the way they always be. These are children. They are children. They have to have structure. Okay, they are not. We don't need to be intimidated by them. I get people get scared of them, but they are children. Okay, they're going to act like children. School choice. I homeschool. Those of you who follow me on my congressional thing, I homeschooled. Okay? The reason I homeschooled, like Chris, my wife said we're homeschooling. I said, okay. But she presented her case, and I said, okay, I'll support that. The things that were beginning to be taught at that level, because we had our kids on a comprehensive campus. In fact, till Megan was in 3rd grade. I'm sorry, hon. So she was in 3rd grade. We pulled her out of third grade and never sent a kid back to the comprehensive campus because of what was going on. Okay, there's great options for parents. California Virtual Academy is a phenomenal curriculum. It's a better curriculum than anything they're going to get on a comprehensive campus today. I feel bad about that. Do I have any teachers here? I want to support teachers. I understand that you are in a fight. Okay, you're in a fight on your campuses.
Okay, we have to pass it to Chris.
Oh, yeah.
soon.
I forgot.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Real quick, both my children went to public school. But I said that to say this. There are a lot of teachers out there that are very phenomenal. They're phenomenal. But they can't do it by themselves. I was at my kids' campus from elementary school through high school regularly, even as a law enforcement officer. Every chance I get, I was there. My daughter was talking to her younger cousins just a couple days ago, and she said, we were afraid to ditch because we never knew what car our dad was going to be in, and he was at the school every single day. Okay? It can't happen. They went to public school because I wanted them to experience all of that, and also have a social life. But I was there. My wife was there. We made sure that we had jobs where we could be involved, and it was a all day, everyday thing. So education begins at home. At home. It's not up to the teachers. It's not up to law enforcement. It begins at home. You can't just have a kid and say, okay, you guys raise them. No, we have to do it as parents. We have to do it, and so it can be done, but it's very, very hard. Our teachers, like Mark said, are having a very, very hard time because we deal with those kids in the field. We deal with those kids who don't have parents that's educating them at home. We deal with them in the field. And guess what? They say the fruit don't fall far from the tree. When we deal with a parent, we know exactly why that child is like they are.
Okay, and if I can, speaking about parenting and everything, that leads us into our next topic, which is actually the single parent family, which I can actually attest to. My dad was kind of a deadbeat dad. My mom was raising 3 of us by herself. So it touches my heart. What do you guys have to say about it? Start wherever you guys want.
Okay. Yes, real quickly, before I do that, I want to just make mention that if anyone wants to get involved, there is very important, on the school choice, I forgot to mention, I promised them, the school choice petition, to get it we want to get it on the ballot next time around. So they're back there. Also, mass resistance is here. This is very important if you want to get involved. Put your faith in action.
And I do want to remind everybody, we do have the index cards. So as you're listening to the panel, if you have your questions, raise them up, and Chicane is still coming around picking them up, okay? And Trish is reviewing those for our Q&A session.
Now, the single parent household, that's it. It's kind of, I have a different take on it. And this is just me. Again, I'm going to be bold. Thank you, Lord. David said in the scriptures, when my mother and my father forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. That is the most important thing that I can express as to having a brother. If you have come from a dysfunctional home, I grew up without a mother or father. I was adopted by my grandmother, and of course my step grandfather. Okay, now you'll say, well, you had a man in the house. Yeah, okay, he was my step grandfather. So it's not really a matter of blood, but it's a matter of ideas. Yeah. Think about what Reagan said when he said, freedom is not passed down in the blood, it's passed down to generation. These are ideas, folks. I think we've been fighting this battle kind of in the wrong way. We need to fight it more with ideas. This is an ideology, a war of ideas that we're fighting. So it doesn't matter whether you have a father or a mother, bloodline, or blood-wise, you know what I'm talking about. What matters is that you have adults in your life that teach you the values that you need to learn, which brings it to the point of whether it's in education in the classroom, because as Lincoln said, today's education in the classroom is tomorrow's form of government. Yeah. Yep. But we seem to forget about that. In the church, we don't think that government is worth talking about. We don't talk about politics. Oh, I don't want to talk about politics. How many of you have people in your family that don't want to talk about politics? That's why we're where we are. Nobody wants to talk about it. So we've got to start stepping up. And that's what the Lord is telling us. We need to step up. For those who have ears to hear, God is telling us to step up. And He will step up. He will meet us halfway. Okay, if we want that.
Okay, so we already talked before about the percentages going from 90% moms and dads in the home to 85%. It was very important to have dads in the home when we were growing up because they were the enforcer. But if there wasn't something else going on, you had Big Mama, you had Medea, you had Auntie, we had Christ-centered women that were there, and men were there, would take on that responsibility. We were a community. Now my grandmother and aunties, whatever we call it, whatever, they took care of those communities. They were packing. Okay, this gun thing wasn't a situation at all. People don't know what that means. They had 4 pistols, 2 in the hip, 1 in the waistline, and 1 in the bosom. Okay, you do not mess with those women. Okay, come from a different environment altogether. Now, in the 1960s, under President Lincoln, is that they started their war on poverty that decimated the black
Lyndon
people,
Johnson.
Okay, Lyndon Johnson, excuse me. The government on purpose they started off the welfare programs, and we took the money. The thing with the welfare program was this. In order for you ladies to get this welfare, the man has to leave the household. We took the money, we sold our soul for 30 pieces of silver. Until that period of time, we were very self-reliant. We didn't depend on the government for anything. And a black person wouldn't work if they saw a penny, they would try to find out who it came from. All these jobs you see other people have, black people have these jobs because we had a strong community. Certain things were accepted. I tell people all the time when Michael Brown had gotten killed by a police officer, I tell them, listen, if he was in my day and age, he'd still be alive. You know why? Excuse my language. He got his ass tore for stealing. Yeah. Before he got home, Auntie would have found on the corner. They didn't have a phone. That was the first beating. Big Mama would have got him on the second corner, and then Dad would have got him. He would have had 3 beatings before he got home, and then just for good measure, somebody else would have got to take care of him. Okay? That's the way we roll and work back then. That's why our communities are so strong. If you want to see socialism, don't look any further than the black community. It was tried already. They took workers and inventors in this society, which was black people, made them dependent on the government, and destroyed our family structure. Our reliance on each other, and we had a strong work ethic and innovative mind. That took place with us being lazy, reliance on the government, took away our ambition and our drive. That's what socialism looks like. Thank you very much.
Well, I have to piggyback on Big Mama. I grew up with Medea. My mother, I didn't know her name was Gladys until I was an adult. Her name was Medea, and that's how I was raised. And I was raised on those principles. I was a drug baby. I was drugged at church. On Sunday, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. She made me practice the piano daily. I became a church musician at 11 years old and was playing for the pastor's choir. And to this day, I still do that whenever I can get out of the pulpit and do that. But those principles that Ms. Sag talked about is the same principles I was raised up on. And I know the man is usually the enforcer. I grew up with a stepfather. He was my stepfather from the time I was 5 years old until he passed away, and I was in my 30s. Never spanked me, ever. But he was a lecturer. Yeah. I would like, dude, here's my belt, whoop my ass. Whip me, just shut up, okay? But he would lecture me all day. Whenever he saw me, we would go to dinner, come back, he'd lecture me some more about what he lectured me last time. And then I was like double jeopardy. Then he'd tell Medea when she got home, and she whipped my butt for what he lectured me about. But the bottom line is, I had some incidents in junior high school where I was bused from LA. I was part of the first busing program in LA, where we went from LA Unified School District in LA City, was bused out to the Valley. And it was different, 6th, 7th grader. And when I got there to the school, all the buses pulled up and the school had been graffitied. All ends go back to Africa. And I was like, what is this? And it was in 77, Roots had just came out. And so I didn't know what was going on. You know, my mother kind of kept me away from all that kind of stuff. But when I got home and told her what happened, I was like, hey, I don't have to go back to the valley anymore because all my friends are in LA. She said, okay, you're going back tomorrow. And I bet not hear that you're fighting with anybody, arguing with anybody, or doing anything you don't have any business. I'm like, but Madeira, they said all ends go back to Africa. She said, are you an N? No, I'm not. She said, so you're going back to school tomorrow. And so I go to school the next day, 60, 75 miles away from home.
That's messed up.
And that was every day. But what I see on campus when I get there the next day is Medea walking on campus. Like, what is she doing here? I'm here to make sure your counselors and teachers know who I am. And they know who you are. So if they see you messing up, they'll call me. I'm like, oh, okay. So that there is where I learned that I had to be involved in what my kids were doing whenever I had them.
Right.
And she was so right. Teachers, counselors took more interest in me because they knew she took a lot of interest in me.
Oh, yeah.
And they would call her regularly before I got home. And so I was in trouble before I got there. But I had my incidents with LAPD growing up in South Central LA, being thrown out on the street, accused of being a drug user, accused of being a drug dealer because I had a nice car. Didn't matter that I had 2 jobs. Didn't matter that I was an explorer for LAPD for 6 years. I was still a profile, as they would call it today. But I could not use that for something negative. It was those reasons that got me to go to law enforcement in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
So change can be made from the inside.
Yes.
You can stand up outside all day and picket sign and do whatever you want, and that's all effective.
No.
But getting on the inside, making a change, is more effective. When you work next to a partner who may have those thoughts, that ideology, or they may have that type of upbringing, then he sees you as a partner,
Okay, thanks.
and he realizes that they're not all like that.
Thanks, Chris. It's so interesting, I realize, but and I have like thousands of questions over here too. Mark, did you have something you wanted to add there before we move into?
Just real quick, because this microphone's all hot and sweaty after Chris.
Oh, Lord.
It's going.
Yeah.
I'm emotionally torn on this topic. One is why is this even a topic for single parent households? The fact that it's on this list tells you it is a significant social ill that we have allowed to exist in our communities. My heart goes out to every single parent, male or female, and I worked with a lot of them from Santa Clarita. I supervise countywide, and I built a lot of single parent homes. And I want to extend, my respect, what a single parent goes through, trying to make ends meet and raise their children. Now that said, the lion's share of our single parent homes are moms, okay? We have fathers that are trying to do it, but the lion's share is our moms. And so I have this thing where I rail on us men. We have failed to be men. And we have to accept that. We have failed to raise our young sons to be men.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay, to be men. And what does that look like? It's not a bully. It's not someone that's hard-handed on something. But how do you stand tall? How do you stick to your responsibility to your children and a wife when it gets crappy?
Yeah.
Because love isn't always warm and fuzzy. Okay, a long-term marriage means you're going to have some resiliency and coping skills.
Yeah.
How do we teach our young men to be men? And who's doing it? Who's doing it?
Fathers.
Okay? Because if the fathers keep running, we can't blame the women. They're working their, I've dealt with moms that had 3 jobs in trying to raise children. Okay? She is busting her backside to do everything she knows to do. So I place a lot of accountability on males in this particular thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying women they're weak and they need help. I'm not saying that, okay? I have tremendous respect because these females that are doing it are phenomenally strong. What I am saying is that if we're gonna look at this as a societal reform, we need to do something to raise our young males better
Yes.
with a more moral, ethical stance.
Yes.
And one of the things I've done is I've started working with kids blacksmithing, because it's a lot of work. They want to quit. We say, no, you got to keep pounding that hard steel. And we can talk about character building when we talk about shaping steel. But we have to do something different to teach our young men how to be strong and how to protect the dignity in their homes.
Okay, and I wanted to, we've kind of touched on consequences for your actions already, which is our next topic. But how do you teach consequences like you guys are mentioning when you get a ass whooping, 40 years ago or whatever, but now that child cries abuse? How do you be a parent and instill those values and enforce those values without a neighbor or somebody else calling and saying you're abusing the child?
Yeah, and this society is really different, of course, from a lot of us grew up, and there's different ways to do that. I was blessed with one child at 37, okay? I had 11 niece and nephews, whatever, and I had a hand in raising all of those. My mom and dad, most of them besides one, turned out really well. They're doing one is Olympian, turned out really well. I have hundreds of boys run around right now, call me mom when they see me on the street. I said, who is this child? Because I knew them when they had a helmet on, whatever. I was the house. There's always somebody in the neighborhood that's house. I'd have, my son would bring kids home from school, in his junior high school, with a plastic bag with a few toiletries for the weekend. Never met their parents, never met their mom. How do you send your child to my house? But because I was God-centered person, they just knew, comfortable. After that, all his cousins start showing up. You know what I mean? We had a house big enough, full enough, whatever. So if you don't have that structure, what you have with moms and dad, it used to be a community to work together. That's why we have to get more involved in the life of these children. They're yearning and looking for somebody, for some foundation and structure. Just one story about one of the players I had in football. They really wanted to play. He was kind of a rough guy, whatever. So one day he got mad at the football team, whatever, because the coach didn't let him do something. He threw his uniform off and walked off the field. His mom called me next week because he really wanted to play. Oh, please, can he come play? I said, no, he's not coming back. I will let him come back. He come back and apologize to his team and to his coach for misbehaving like that. And if he doesn't do that, he will not step foot on this football again. Field. I never thought that kid really would do that. He came back next week. He stood up in front of his football team and his coach and apologized for his behavior. But because we took that stance and made him responsible for his behavior, whatever, he flourished in that environment because he was a great player, football player, whatever. But we as people got to get involved, find your talent, whatever it is that God has gave you, and use that to build these kids in their mind. They're yearning and thirsting for some kind of knowledge. And if they're not getting other places, you have to step up and give it to them. Thank you.
I'll throw in my little 2 cents. I'm, as a